I want to welcome you to the interview today. I've got Turner Barr on with me. And what up, Turner?
What up? Are you filming me or just voice?
We are filming and voice.
Whoa, pressure.
Yeah, so good thing you put your shirt on, dude.
I know. I better put pants on too.
I am not wearing pants, so that's good.
Cool. No pants party.
That is
Podcast.
right.
No pants podcast. I think you might get a lot of viewers with that.
We were talking a little bit, and I want you to get into the story. You bought into the typical stuff of go to school, get your degree, and then go and get a job. And I want you to fill in our audience from there.
Yeah, okay. I bit really hard into the whole American ideal, like the dream or whatever you're kind of spoon-fed from a young age. I don't know if it's watching TV or just hearing it enough, but basically you go make a bunch of money and you go to you basically get to the best school possible, so then you can go, get some high-paying job, make a bunch of money, and then all the women love you and, you're a rock star. But when I graduated, I went to Berkeley, out of state and everything. But once I graduated, I'd interned some places, and I was going to go into commercial real estate because it just made sense for me at the time. But I don't know, my heart wasn't in it. So I interviewed a bunch of places, and I was like, I'm going to go travel for a bit. And so, I hit the open road, and once I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's a bunch of beautiful women here that like me because I'm exotic, I'm a foreigner. That probably helped kind of break that old paradigm up a bit. But also, it just was so much more interesting than knowing this path before you, to make a bunch of money or whatever. It just didn't seem as appealing. And so, yeah, and so I started traveling. I wasn't doing jobs at that point. I was just overseas looking around. But then I thought, wait a minute, I should make money at this. And so I tried a bunch of different stuff. For the first 2 years, I was trading stock and I was killing it. But I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, the market was going up. And so I thought I was smarter than I was. Then when the market fell, I got, screwed like everybody else did. I tried to start a hostel, but when my money went, so did that idea. So then I started exploring different things. And so, I was like, let's go check out some more places. But how do I do that? So I went to grad school in Europe, just so I could escape, have a reason, you go back to the old paradigm. You always go back to your old mindsets, which was the old mindset of I think of people when they don't know what they want to do is go back and get more education. So that's why people, I think, go back and go to law school, even though they don't necessarily want to become a lawyer or like whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll go get my MBA. Oh, but I don't have time for the GMAT. I'll go to grad school in Europe and then parlay that into an MBA later. But it was secretly like, no, I just want to like live abroad and like kick it and have like an internship in Europe, which I did. But then the same thing kind of happened to me again. I was like, dude, I went to go work for this like big corporation there, and I was like, this sucks. But traveling was really amazing, and meeting all the different people, different cultures. I traveled. Most of my classmates in my grad program were from Eastern Europe, and so like after I graduated, I turned down my contract offer at that big multinational corporation, and I traveled over Eastern Europe for like 9 months and like was staying with their families. And so I was like, this is what I want to do. How do I make it into reality? So I'm like, well, there must be more jobs overseas than what people are telling. And so I started looking online, but that was really discouraging because online was just you had websites that were just built for SEO clicks and spam. You had these big job board sites, which were, just like job boards in the US, just as useless to use. And then you had like other ones that were like job placement companies, which were really tourism companies guising themselves as job placement companies. But I knew that there was work overseas because I'd met so many other entrepreneurs on the road. I'd met other people working on the road. So I knew they were out there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go start doing interesting jobs and I'm going to document it. I didn't know about computers, Hell, I even sold after I graduated college for like 6 months and I was at home for a down period. I sold advertising in my buddy's blog, but at the time I didn't know what it was. I'm like, this thing looks ugly, but he was making money. So people were doing it. Must be something about it. So yeah, so that was kind of the birth of Around the World in 80 Jobs.
Huh. What was the first countries that you went to once you decided that's something you wanted to dive in?
Well, I'd already been traveling for about 5 years at that point. So it started in the US, started selling Christmas trees at a Christmas tree lot with a bunch of illegal aliens, undocumented workers, which is cool. And I'm really terrible at manual labor. So like that's funnier. Like it's really funny because like most of my a lot of the jobs I get, like there's a manual labor aspect to them and I'm really bad at that. So it's pretty funny as I go along. Then I went down to Mexico right after that, and I went and did timeshare sales and worked on a tequila farm.
A tequila farm.
Well, agave farm, but that's what agave tequila is derived from agave.
Okay.
And then I went over to Cuba thinking I could go pick up and do some cigar work over there, but that didn't happen. They've got a kind of a communist regime in there, more of like a dictatorship. So I don't know. You couldn't even get into some of the facilities there. They have you can't even take pictures and stuff inside. So actually, I probably would have worked out in the farms if I would have been. Now that I know what I'm doing more, I probably could have hustled it. But at the time, I was like, it was a challenge. I might have to
take a while for you to learn how to hustle situations and work your way into getting a job or doing things.
I think I naturally had some of that skill set. Both of my parents are people persons. And so I naturally talk to a lot of people. And so I just kind of always was just kind of following the smell of the cheddar cheese, if you will, through the maze. And one thing led to another. Now that I've kind of see the hand play out a bit more in different scenarios, now I know now I'm getting better and better at just keep on following it. And I'm also a bit more creative about things, but I've learned a lot in that regard. But definitely like networking and just talking to people. I hate the word networking; it's like the worst word on the planet. It's just being cool and talking to a lot of people and not being pressuring or trying to get something out of them. And magical things can happen.
Do you know what your next step is? So let's say Cuba. Where'd you go after Cuba?
After Cuba, I went back to Mexico and then into Belize and Guatemala. I didn't do any jobs in those countries though. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't really. Oh, actually, at the time, I was actually copy editing online. That was like a location independent job.
Okay.
So I do a variety of jobs. So some of the jobs are like kitschs, like kind of kitschy. So like working on a tequila farm, like who would go out and do this? Like you can't really, like a local person, you would die as a white person doing this. You wouldn't make enough money and you would probably chop off your toes. Like that would be like a kitsch's type of job, or and then like volunteer jobs would be like working with tigers and working with elephants in Thailand, which I did. Then there's like jobs that actually pay money, like timeshare sales, working for a reality TV show company. And then there's like location independent jobs. That would be like trading stock, or I do copy editing. I do like editing for business professors in Europe.
Okay.
So I try to do a variety of jobs. So I worked for a promotional video maker in Mexico, and that was really interesting as well. This guy was making bank doing these promo videos, and
really?
that was kind of my first eye opening into like it was how fun it was and just like how interesting and like damn, there's like good money in that.
Was he American as well?
No, he was a Chicano. He was like a Mexican American guy, and. Okay. But he was just killing it in Puerto Vallarta. He like dominated, like, because he was doing YouTube videos early on, and he built up his channel, and so he was just going to different businesses there and making promo videos. So he would just like rock up to different places and like do the activity. Like I went with him one day, we went whale watching, and he had this guy filming him the whole time. He does all the editing, all the filming. He just shows up and like does the deal, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a sweet gig. I should do that. But I kept going, but I didn't fully. I don't know, didn't register fully at the time.
So what made you hang on to the brand of like around the world in 80 jobs? Like when did that, was it like an epiphany at night, or sitting on a chicken bus in Guatemala, or what was it?
Where the name came to me?
Yeah, the name and the concept. Because like it sounds like at the beginning you didn't have the concept, and all of a sudden it just kind of like you dug your heels into it.
Well, I was doing all of this under the name Around the World in 80 Jobs with the website and everything. I launched that prior to doing all these jobs.
Oh, okay.
But it came to me, I probably gleaned it from, there was a TV show called Around the World in 80 Trades. And it was a 4-part TV show with this guy named Connor Woodworth or something like this. He has a show called Scam City right now. Basically, he went around the world and he had like 10,000 pounds or $10,000 or something. And he would buy like goods in one country and then bring them to another country and then try to trade them for a profit. And so I was thinking like, oh, okay. But jobs even makes even more sense because like there's all these different cool jobs around the world that nobody really talks about. I never really watched Dirty Jobs. I watched it a bit, but like, I don't know. The international thing was more dynamic to me.
Okay. And then, let's talk about like the Philippines. You actually spent some time, were able to volunteer. Were you there during the big disaster?
No. Where was I during the big disaster? I think I was in Europe. I was in Europe. I was in Europe. I was working at a balsamic vinegar place during that time, and then I went home, and then it was like during Black Friday, and I was like watching everybody like, go crazy buying these like cheap ass electronics, and I was just thinking, God, this is just so boring to me. And I'm like, I want to do something for somebody else, like do something good. And so I thought, I want to do like a fundraiser for kids for Christmas. I know everybody was really into the whole relief thing, like giving goods. But I was like, I want to give kids hope. I want to do something, and I wanted to challenge myself because I hadn't done a fundraiser like that before. And so I went to the Philippines, right, like the next week. So like December 1st, and it took me, I only had 25 days to basically find out where I could do some relief work, get the campaign together. I got a company to sponsor it, sponsor part of it before I left, make all the videos, do everything, do all the logistics. Like it was a long shot getting that done, because that was really a one-man band. I mean, Casey Neistat, I think his name is, he's the guy that did the Make It Count video. Okay. Nike one. He does, like, he's a professional filmmaker. He actually, I guess I looked at it. He actually went to the Philippines and gave $25,000 to them too. But like, he's got like some corporate muscle behind him. Like, I really went there on my own, not knowing anybody. I literally got off a plane and I had a couple of random bloggers say, hey, you should check out this place and that place. And I just followed the cheese, and I was able to throw this fundraiser together, film it all, which was also a feat because the internet there was terrible. It was pretty much down everywhere. It was like spotty, and it was really bad anyway. And I had all this footage. And so, yeah, but we got it together, and I found some kids that really could use like a brighter Christmas. And I teamed up with the Red Cross there in this kind of more obscure area that wasn't hit by the typhoon, but they were servicing areas that weren't being serviced by the relief organizations. And so, we brought it together. We had like a Santa Claus on a motorcycle and everything, come up with gifts. It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool. What's been the biggest thing that you didn't plan on or didn't expect happen? Like, what's the biggest eye-opening thing that you weren't expecting?
Wow. The biggest eye-opening experience ever for me was last April, or May, was it? When my name of my website was, and my intellectual property, my brand, basically me, was stolen by a multi-billion-dollar company used in a global marketing campaign. You knew about that, right?
No.
Oh, man.
What?
Yeah, dude, if you Google search my site right now, like, I'm in like Inc., I'm in like entrepreneur.com, I'm in like all these different things. Last May, I get an email in the middle of the night from a friend in Europe. He was like, dude, check this out. And it was a link to this video called Around the World in 80 Jobs. And it was a 2-minute promo video by by Attico, which is the world's largest HR company. And they had a guy going around filming jobs just like me, talking just like me, same vernacular, everything. What if you could go around the world in 80 jobs and everything? It was just blatant intellectual property theft.
Yeah.
Wholesale swipe of my website using this global marketing plan of theirs. Really, really bad. Like, over the top, sinister. And so I called them out on it. I emailed like the marketing guy, and I emailed their people, and for 3 weeks they were like, like we'll bring you on, we'll compensate you, maybe we'll fly you around the world as like a mentor, as a guest judge. And I was like, okay, well, it's kind of like retroactively making it all right instead of just stealing, but yeah, we could work something. But then they kind of kept delaying. I was living in Thailand at that point, and so like my visa was up, so I was like, these guys gonna screw me, and whatever. So I went to Laos to renew my visa, and then the next phone conversation I had with them, they brought on the Swiss lawyers and the head corporate office, and they used some very threatening vernacular and like insinuation, like, you better sign this gag order contract with a gag order, like, releasing them of any liability or responsibility, and they can use it without compensating me and all. And I just didn't feel right about it. I had a bunch of friends that I was, I talked to everybody and their mom what to do. I called lawyers, but they weren't responding to me. People were very pessimistic because this is this big company, and nobody really gave a shit. I was calling from overseas, and even bloggers I knew weren't very supportive of it. But then kind of in my darkest hour, I called my buddy in New York who is has a travel company, and he's really up to speed on social media stuff. And he's like, no, this is big. This is big, man. So I took the next red eye. 4 hours later, I was on the red eye in New York, and me and him went to battle. And I crafted the blog post, how I got fired from the job I invented. And within 24 hours, it hit the front page of Reddit.
Wow.
The Consumerist, it crashed my site. But then the people at that point, it just took over. It went really big in the travel blogging community, but then it got out to bigger ones, mommy bloggers and sports bloggers, and like Mark Cuban's brother was like tweeting it out. Like it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Fark.com, like all these guys, BuzzFeed, all these people were starting to get in on it. And so the sharks were in the water. Once the people of Reddit got on it, though, the people of Reddit are amazing. They are social justice on it, and they just Attico, actually, I should backtrack a second. When I got to New York, Attico caught word of it, and they sent the marketing guy to meet me one more time, and they tried to give me this one last minute deal, kind of hush money, go away money, and I was like, no, this is not right. You guys are screwing me over here, and this is not integrity. This isn't the right thing to do. And so when I turned it down, then it hit the front page of Reddit, and it was crazy. And then they just got viral internet hatred dumped on them. Their social media exploded. Their video got so bad, it went from 300 upvotes and a few hundred positive comments, had over 1.2 million views at that point, to 1.5, 1.6 million views, 1,000 or 2,000 downvotes, thousands of comments seeping in hatred.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they took down the video. And then their Twitter erupted, and their Facebook. I mean, they just didn't know what they were doing.
So are you allowed to say what happened after that?
Yeah, they said that they were in talks with me, but they weren't, and so I pushed the ball forward a bit. I modeled what I did with what Brandon Stanston, I think his name, Humans of New York. He had some photos swiped from him by DKNY, and he called him out on it. And he basically was like, "No, you're going to give $100,000 or $30,000 to this YMCA charity." And at first they told him to piss off. And then it got more and more crazy, but he had a really big following. Eventually they gave $30,000 to charity, but he did a Kickstarter and raised $70,000. So I kind of mirrored it off of that. And I basically said to them, okay, you can compensate me the same amount of money you paid this firm that poached my idea. You can drop all of the trademarks. They're pursuing trademarks all over the world, 45 of them. Drop all the trademarks, issue a public apology, compensate me, and give $50,000 to the Save Elephant Foundation, which is one of my last jobs. I've been working on this sick, injured elephants in Thailand. And as soon as I posted it, within 10 minutes, they called me and were like, let's make a deal.
Wow.
Yeah, social justice. It took 5 days. All these lawyers were like, oh, blah, blah.
Power of the internet, man.
Power of the internet, power of the people. One of the lawyers I contacted, he actually was amazed. I talked to him later after the fact, and he was like, he kind of blew me off at first because he was dealing with a blogger, a woman who had 500,000 followers, who was getting screwed over, and they were getting no progress, and they were working on the thing for 8 months, and the company was digging in their heels. People have this fantasy that I'll just sue, whatever. These guys have armies of lawyers, whatever small time they just want to settle and get it done with. They're going to screw you. Using the power of social media and public opinion is way more potent.
Yeah, people are scared of their shadows, and so they'll hush it up, whatever they can do.
Yeah, and it's that was one of the things that they got. They were pressuring me. They even on the phone, Attico was like, get a lawyer. After once they brought the lawyers in on the talks, they kind of kept pressuring me, and kind of I'm like, why do I need a lawyer? Why? Because they wanted me to get a lawyer because they knew, that's their battlefield. That's their arena. And they know they win there because they have more money, and they know what the parameters are. They just put money on the table, have it go away.
Yeah.
I kept it in my arena though, with social media, where the people are. And entrepreneurs all around the internet all picked up on it because they understood immediately that this wasn't about me. This is about ideas and brand is important, and entrepreneurship, and having a code in that is important.
So now that you've retained the brand, what's next?
I want to try to make it into a full-fledged web series, and so I've been working on doing that. Whether it's a TV show or web series, either one I'm fine with. But yeah, I'm going to kick it up there. I'm trying to get more crazy jobs.
Okay. What's the craziest job that you've thought of doing that you haven't done yet?
Well, it's pretty hard to top working with tigers at Tiger Temple. I did that right afterwards. Right after that thing, I went over to Tiger Temple I was supposed to be there for a month, but I left after 3 weeks. It's the most controversial tourist spot in Southeast Asia. And I went kind of behind the scenes there to kind of find out my own truth about it. Were they into shady or is it on the up and up? Basically, Tiger Temple is a Buddhist monastery that has 122 captive tigers. And there's a big question of like, why do they have so many tigers, and like, why are a bunch of Buddhist monks in a forest running this monastery? And it came out like 7 years ago that like the animal conditions were bad, and that there was definitely something, tigers were missing and all this, but no blogger had been behind the scenes there for 7 years. And so I went there to kind of find out my own truth about it. So I was like walking on a daily basis, living on the temple grounds with like spiders and centipedes and scorpions in my room, to like walking baby tiger cubs in the morning, to living in a circus basically. But I left after 3 weeks because I just didn't feel it was right.
Wow.
Felt really unholy to me. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what my, there's a lot of really crazy jobs you can do out there. I have a couple that are floating around my head. I don't know if I want to touch them or not. I had a girl email me the other day about a job in Israel, like doing this like kind of volunteer work, or just it kind of sounded cool with the Israeli Defense Force, but it sounded really gnarly and really crazy. But I'm not sure. I don't support the whole like bulldozing of Palestinians' homes and the settlement thing, so I wouldn't want to like be supporting that. So I don't know. I like to explore controversial issues, even if I have an opinion about it, but to open mind so I can see all positions. So yeah. I wanted to be Zwarte Pieten this last year, but I didn't get a chance to do it. So maybe next year if they still have it. Zwarte Pieten is Black Pete in Holland.
Okay.
The UN, it's basically like Santa Claus there. Santa Claus has all these, instead of elves, he has all these little Zwarte Pieten, Black Petes, which are these little like helpers. And the idea is that they're Santa's helpers, but the controversy is that it's racist. And that it's derived from slavery, and they need to get rid of it. But it's kind of part of their Christmas tradition, and all these kids don't think of it that way. But the UN is trying to make them get rid of it. And so there's a kind of a controversy around, are they going to keep it? Is it racist? Is it not racist? Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
That's pretty interesting, man. I mean, I've traveled the world. I've backpacked. I've lived in South America. I've been through Central America. I've been through, we were talking about Guatemala. When you get outside of the U.S., you learn different things. What's advice you can give to people that are looking to relocate and try a job somewhere else?
Just do it. You'll be surprised at how many opportunities are out there and how much people will help you. All these countries have like expats in them. And, these are people that came over there with and they've been there for like 20 years, 30 years, and like they've made it happen. And so they have these networks of people that will help you. When you get there, just not be pressuring, just be cool, and it will all work out. Like you'll find so many amazing opportunities abroad. You just have to be patient with it, and it's an adventure. It really is. Like, it's amazing how things do come together. That was probably one of the things I learned from the beginning, from the start of this, is that things have a way of coming together, and you can find stuff, more stuff than you initially thought.
And what advice do you wish someone would have given you? So you're giving advice. What do you wish someone would have given you?
I wish I would have, even now, I'm kind of resistant to it, but I wish I would have spent more time learning some, like, you have all these tools at your disposal. You have the internet, you have blogging, which I pushed myself to get into. I needed a platform to get out there, which was blogging. I didn't know anything about computers, and I'm not particularly web savvy, but I forced myself to learn how to use WordPress and all this to be able to get my message out there. And I mainly did it via photos and writing. And my writing has been more refined as I've gone along, but I also wish I would have been focusing more on other hard skills like video editing and shooting video, and all of these skills, like knowing how to use Photoshop, like all this kind of stuff. These are very transferable skills, but I didn't learn any of that in school. Like, we didn't, and that wasn't the emphasis. Computers were. I was in that in between generation where, like,
How old are you?
I'm turning 30 next month.
Okay.
And so I kind of feel like I fell in this in between generation where, like, I took like a Java class or some kind of computer science class at university, and I was like, what is this? And Facebook came out my freshman year of college. I was one of the first universities that had it. And so this whole revolution has kind of really caught on in the last years, unless you're one of those really progressive people with computers. And so I'm kind of in this in-between generation. So a lot of like computer skills I didn't have. So I wish I would have spent more time building those. even if it's outside my comfort zone, because you need to know, even if, let's say, even if you're more adept at, like, say, speaking or being a talent or drawing, whatever it is that your talent is or that you wish to promote or put out there, you still need to know how to operate those tools and those platforms to convey your message, right? Like, I have great ideas, but if you can't manifest them, then it's just, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and you have to be able to. I think it really comes down to selling and selling your vision, not necessarily hard selling. I mean, you do have to sell yourself, but you have to sell your vision to people.
Yeah,
and that's a skill that's transferable no matter what you're doing. I mean, look at Steve Jobs. Like, the dude was a master salesman.
Yeah, and I think I think the really important thing is to find out what you really love and what you really enjoy, you really like. I don't want to say passionate about, because that word,
that's
like
so
network
overused.
Yeah. Just find out what really, like, you really are, like, what really makes you excited, because once you get there, then the selling part of it gets easier. Like, I can sell people on what I do because it's very interesting. I just need to get better at the delivery aspect of it, which is probably where I would be best if I had partnerships with other people from an entrepreneur aspect. Like, in terms of video, like, something like that, getting, like, a film crew to follow me, or like a small production team or something like this. Or like building a platform for, like, I know in general how I have a vision for how you can make some type of job a broad platform, and as well as some of the marketing stuff, but I don't have the technical. I need more of a team of people so I can focus on what I'm good at.
Interesting. So how can people listen, watch your videos and read about your blog posts and say thanks to you?
Well, Around the World in 80jobs.com is where my blog is at. And then through YouTube, like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook are all 80 World Jobs is the handle. And so, check out YouTube. I'll be putting a lot more stuff on there, both in terms of, like, entertaining, like, me actually doing these jobs so you can see what it's like, to me actually giving some more one-on-one, like, hey guys, here's what the real deal, here's what the real deal is, here's the straight don't listen to these bull companies overseas trying to say, like, you need to pay $5,000 to scrub the turtles. No, you can just go, you can just do stuff. It blows my mind, like, that people think that there's such constraints out there, but you really can just go and just show up and do stuff. What's preventing you from helping people and going out and doing volunteering in some place? You don't need to go through some program. Why?
That's a really good point.
You're already giving your time, so why are you paying this program fee? It goes to this third-party company.
So what'd you say? It's a tourist company in disguise of a job board? Oh,
hell yeah, absolutely.
That's a good approach. So we'll get our listeners to follow up with you at your website and on your YouTube channel. So go to the website Around the World in 80jobs.com. And would you say it was 80 jobs inside of YouTube? Is that right?
YouTube is 80 World Jobs.
80 World Jobs.
All of them are 80 World Jobs. Twitter, 80 World Jobs. Facebook, 80 World Jobs. And YouTube, 80 World Jobs.
Perfect. Thanks, man. It was a good chat.
No worries. Peace.
Later.